Hello, we are back. Another episode of the SLB Show. We are joined by Mitch and Louis. Louis, we cannot see because, well, tech issue, Louis, somehow again. Thank you to everyone who got in touch after we had Pat Robinson on last week. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that listen. It was great to chat to Pat and hear what he's got to say about life in Cheshire, life in the SLB, and just kind of about his basketball journey. But this week's show is all about the main focus of the Cup Final taking place in Manchester on Sunday this week. So, guys, how are we?
Good, I'm good. And good weekend of basketball on my end. Games good to watch. And yeah, I think we're just that momentum to the finals really starting to ramp up. I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
Louis, what you got to say about it?
I'm all right, thank you, Grant.
This is going to be hard to direct the
yeah.
conversation when I cannot see you. So just remind me you're here every so often, okay?
Yeah, okay. I'll just speak whenever.
Just interrupt. So the first kind of question, when we look at the final, we'll concentrate basically on the men's final, but let's mention the women's finals first. It's the Manchester, the home team in both finals, but against the Sheffield Hatters. Sheffield Hatters come into the league, into the meeting as the top team in the country. They've just won the trophy, barely lost this season. But when we get to the finals, Mitch, quite often it's the women's final that turns out to be one of the better games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just how it's worked out the last few years, but it always feels like one of the finals is always better than the other one. And it just seems more consistently right now it's been the women's. This has been a better game across the board. Saying that, with all the drama we've had with Manchester on the men's side, that's yet to be seen. But regardless, it's Sheffield are the dominant team in the women's league right now. Manchester are middle of the table. You would expect a dominant win from Sheffield for this game, but it's a final. Anything can happen. And if Manchester decide they're going to have a really good game and compete and make it really difficult for Sheffield, it could happen. We just don't know. But it should be a good game.
Always does. With a new venue for a final or a final, SLB final taking place at this venue in Manchester for the first time in a long time, should be a cracker. But when we look at the men's game, let's start. We've got a few kind of questions. We're going to talk about who has momentum, previous games. We'll touch a little bit on the aggro of the last game, a couple of watches about key players, the matchups, and our predictions. So who does have the momentum heading into this game? Both teams have lost games in the last 5. London are 3-2, Manchester 4-1. League standings, obviously London are in top place, 17-5. Manchester third, 14-10, but with game in hand over the Cheshire Phoenix, who currently sit in second. When we look at the previous matchups, it seems to be advantage away team. Manchester got the win in December on the road at London. London then took the win over Manchester in February, and then Manchester and London again took the victory. So road teams get the wins. So guys, Louis, you can go first on this one. Who do you think has the momentum heading into this final?
I mean, Manchester definitely have the psychic momentum over London at the moment, especially after what happened after last game, the hoo-ha that obviously we'll speak about later. But I think Manchester just have that slight edge over them at the moment, especially with the win, obviously 72-71, close win, and just obviously home court, various things. So I'm going with Manchester for the slight edge at the moment. So yeah.
Mitch, do you have any arguments on who has the momentum?
I mean, if you're going by just the two teams against one another, Manchester probably have a bit of an edge. Just with the bragging rights of the last game, the way the last game ended and what happened off the court after the match. You look at London's last 5, the 2 games that one weekend, they lost to Manchester. Then shortly after that, they also lost to Sheffield that same weekend. So you can look at that from London's perspective as maybe of an aberration weekend. That this is a bad weekend. Let's smack ourselves, get some water in our face, refresh, go again, and they're back to dominant ways this last week in the build to the final. Dominant win over Surrey, absolutely decimated Newcastle at home as well. Like, they're back to doing what they should be doing, what they expect to be doing. So I think there's an argument to be made that London are in good form for the final, but I think if you're looking just at narrative storyline, I'd probably give the edge to Manchester on that one, but London are going to be tough, and they dropped 98 in their last game. They're raring to go.
Is it a case when we look at this London lineup roster, whatever you want to say in terms of it, when you look at the players that they've named in recent weeks, Ovi's back in the lineup, McGusty's back, Tariq's back playing, he's fit, Joe Scott's fit. It's all okay. Jonathan Williams has been released. But is this almost London now back at as near full strength as what they have been and probably what they look to recruit, Louis?
Yeah, it's practically speaking their full strength squad, no doubt about it. Obviously, Joel Scott was practically the leading far and away. Yeah, the guy, basically the MVP guy, and obviously he's back. Obviously, various other guys, as you said, are back, so they're looking full healthy and looking to compete and take the task to Manchester. So.
Because it's when I try and think who's got momentum, and obviously the head-to-head, London dropped those games to Manchester relatively recently, but then London getting that win in Manchester as well, that's huge. But that last game, like Manchester had both teams struggled to score, which I think we're both all surprised about when you look at the offensive threats both teams carry. But there was the way that game ended, like Jones hitting some big shots down the stretch, and we'll talk about big key players and matchups. But when you look at that momentum piece, I'm saying about London having that full strength team, but Manchester in recent weeks have rolled with the same kind of lineup. Henry's not been available basically all season. Kayem Cleary's been in and out at times, and the first time he went out, they struggled. But they seem to have kind of worked a way that they know how to play without him.
I'm wondering as well, looking at that, is it maybe just tactical matchup as such as it's a good fit for a good game across the board? That's quite consistently we're seeing the Manchester-London matchup is a good game across the board. They're not getting dominated as much as some other teams are. And maybe that is due to the fact that we'll touch on matchups later on, they've got 3 or 4 different players that can all step up in any given night, and they can all take a turn. Well, you look at Surrey look at the last 2 games for London anyway. Like, they've had a couple of key players on Surrey's end, they target them, they slow them down, they're going to do okay. Newcastle, same thing. Manchester's have a bit more depth and different options there as such. What do you think, Louis?
Definitely. Like, obviously, they're couple of guards. Obviously, Jordan Johnson, PJ, and Max Jones are, practically speaking, some of the best, if not the best, offensive pieces in the league. Obviously, varied scorers. So PJ is a very quick guard. You know, he can get to his shot multiple levels. Obviously, his catch and shoot is terrific, which I think is key plus. Operating off of a Max Jones, whose slashing ability and physicality matches up to the EuroLeague, Euro Cup level. I feel like is a difficulty for other teams, because the physicality element I feel like is massive against London, because obviously they did recruit for Euro Cup. Their guys like Dean Williams are huge for our league. Like, Dean Williams is essentially 5 size for our league. You know, and he's consistently playing at the 4. Guys like Amin Adamu at guarding the 1 spot. You know, he's 6'5", 210, 220. You know, so that, and obviously Max Jones is a shifty guard. He's creative with his handle. You know, so that's doubly difficult. You know, so against London, you can't have like a straight line slasher against them, because they're going to be able to stop that. You know, you need varied scorers, and Manchester have that in spades. So in terms of matching up to Manchester, that makes it a very difficult task.
Yeah. Before we get into key players matchups or anything, let's talk about the aggro at the end of the last game. Like, in terms of, let's be honest, Gabe Osaboyan ignited all that. You had coach down talking to other coach. We'll get into Sabonis versus Otten in a second as well. But is it quite good having these two top teams, difficult for me to say, kind of having that bit of aggro heading into this game? We saw it maybe a couple of seasons ago in Cheshire and London getting under each other's kind of skin, and it kind of aided the matchups. It gave people like us something to talk about as well in terms of hyping up. Like, will the players remember that and keep talking about it? And will there be a bit of like shahousery and bit of sportsmanship? Do you know what I mean? Like, is this going to be one of these finals that, you know what, it's gonna be mouthy as well?
It's got a good chance to be. I think because their last game was, pretty recent as well. We definitely hadn't played each other like in 2 months, and there was tension in the last game. It was a matter of weeks ago that happened. And I can't remember where I heard it, but I'm pretty sure someone mentioned there was something said at halftime of the game as well from London towards the Manchester players.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty so that chippiness has been going on. I think as well because they've been going gaze back and forth, and you look at the style how those guys play in Manchester. They naturally want to get under people's skin with how aggressive they are at times. Yeah, it's gonna be spicy. I hope it's left on the floor, and after a final, it's leave it for the next time they play each other because they're not played 4 times together yet, right? It's
No,
just
they
one more
play.
matchup.
I think it's August. Sorry, not August. April 19th, about that weekend.
Yeah, so they've got best part of a month after this before they meet each other again to like just let this cool a little bit. But this is going to be like the peak probably point, unless we miraculously somehow get them in the playoffs against each other as well. Then that would be a whole other thing. But I can't see this game not being tense at points with that drama from the last time.
Louis?
I mean, obviously, like guys like Gabe Osaboyan is the firecracker. Like, he will just. It's going to be a chippy game. You have guys like Tariq who are very physical. They get in. They're mouthy. Max Jones is another one of these mouthy players that kind of turn the edge level up. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a chippy game, so that's going to be fun to watch.
And then when we look at that kind of coach head-to-head, Otten and versus Sabonis, Otten's obviously coached a lot more coaching experience under his belt compared to Sabonis. Sabonis obviously a rookie head coach, but comes with it a lot of history with the Sabonis name. Maybe that, I was going to use the word baggage, but that's not what I mean. That pressure kind of attached to Sabonis and I suppose you've seen that throughout the season when he got his first one in Euro Cup, that first trophy. He was almost the one celebrating it the most. Is what do we reckon the coach dynamics will be?
I mean, with how the game ended, I imagine they'll be respectful. They'll be fine. But I'm curious how that dynamic goes because we talked about this for the cup final as well with Newcastle. We talked about that matchup against the coaches and how that was going to impact, and we saw it. London almost lost that game near the end of that, and how much of that is down to the players, how much is down to the coach, it's hard to really tell. But this is Sabonis' second final with this team in the same season. You would expect that he'll be a bit more relaxed, a bit more confident with the game since he's already got one bit of silver under his belt. I would argue you're going against equally, if not probably a little bit better of a coach in terms of Otten, what he's done with his team. They're performing better this year. On does not seem to react to Sabonis much at all for the last game.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's the interesting bit. Where Sabonis was proper raging and Otten was just like shrug his shoulders, go away type thing.
Yeah, but Otten has been fiery this year. We've seen him be emotional this season already. He has got a couple of texts this season already, but I just think Otten's gonna have a cooler head, and I think he seems to be more like I can't control what my players do. If they want to be idiots, they'll be idiots. I can't help that. I can only do what I can on the floor to make them win. Like, let's be honest. Did Otten even plan for Osborne to start yelling and flexing on the London bench right after the game?
I mean, I'd expect it.
Yeah, you can't control that as the coach. You can do everything you can to make them play the best they can. But if he's going to do that to the bench, you're asking for trouble. But you can't stop that. You can only reprimand them after the fact.
Yeah. All right, let's look at some of the key players. If we pick out, this is where Louis will be interested to get Louis' points on this one. When we look at, let's concentrate on Manchester first. When we talk about let's talk two key players from Manchester who will be really important for them. Louis, who do you have in mind?
So I'm gonna go balls to the wall with the first one. Matt Nicholson for my first one, and how viable his drop defense in the game will be. I feel like it's going to be a massive hinge point because obviously his rim defense, as my good friend Court Vision did an article on, has been very shout Joe has been very impactful, and obviously London are wanting to get to the rim. You know, they have a lot of post players. They love to exploit in the post. Guys like Dean, guys like Joel, etc. So having that impactful presence at the rim, you know, will be very valuable, but they need to make sure that he's not getting killed in the mid-range by Shavar. Guys like Shavar, guys like Magusty, etc., who loved that pull-up in the mid-range. So they need to get their guards defending hard in the pick and roll, making sure, you know, they're aiding him in that. So obviously he's the first one, and then second one, Max Jones. You know, he's the usage guy. He's the guy that's going to be handling the ball the most. He's going to be the leading scorer. You know, so it's dependent on obviously his scoring game, his ability to score, but also I feel like a big key of their kind of winning run has been his more willingness to kind of give the ball up, kind of pass the ball more, you know, play make more instead of just hogging the ball. So those are my two ones to watch for Manchester.
Yeah.
When you look at Nicholson, he's someone that I think's really grown into this season. We were quite curious and excited to see what he would do in this league, weren't we, Louis, in terms of understanding how Manchester would play, and obviously signing a legit big guy like him. You always wondered how they would kind of almost form their team. But I think since probably Christmas time, he's really kind of affirmed himself within the team. He's one of these ones that as a rookie, you're like, when it wasn't maybe good times, where you think, will Manchester keep him? Will they roll the dice? He was out in and out of the rotation quite a lot. But he could be a really big piece for them on Sunday. Like, I think he could be a huge piece for, not just in size and whatever else, but just the looks he'll give them. Like, London we've said they've had to play a lot of Dean at the 5, so it's okay, your offense versus defense argument. But London, I'm not sure London have a player that, if Nicholson gets going, who's stopping them?
Yeah, because the thing is, obviously they play like a very aggressive pick and roll defense. So if Manchester are hitting Nicholson on the roll, you know, with his ability to finish above the rim, you know, that obviously Gabe Osaboyan doesn't have. You know, Gabe Osaboyan's kind of like obviously he's very athletic, but he's not a very good roll finisher, I don't think you'd say. So I think Nicholson would be very important there as well, obviously, as you say. So, yes.
I'm glad you... Max Jones, obviously 17 points a game. His assists are going up. He's now above 3. He's someone, if he's firing, again, this is where you look at Manchester's team very much like quality players, but not all, but a few of their Americans being rookies, is the interesting narrative. You're like, okay, they're at the start of their career, big expectations, blah, 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 blah. He really has a real potential to kind of put himself in the discussion for being one of the best players this year. If he has a great final, wins it for Manchester, shows up, he puts himself firmly in the discussions as one of the top 5 players. Like, we were going back and forth over the weekend, Louis, of being like, who are our MVP race cat? Do you know what I mean? Like, but if Max Jones has a final to be remembered, he's firmly in that discussion.
Yeah, of course. I think it should be like a regular season thing,
No,
but
I know, but
obviously, yeah,
it's
I
what
know
people see.
it gives the good narrative, So, but yeah, hopefully he does well and further cements that.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Right, when we look at London, Louis, who are your two guys you're picking from London?
So London, Shavar, just immediately because of the Nicholson element, whether they're able to punish him in the pick and roll with his drop, whether he's able to score in the mid range. And something that London fans have been mentioning recently is his kind of over dribbling element.
Yeah.
So whether he gets London into their sets versus going ISO is an element. And then the other one is obviously it has to be Joel Scott. He would be my leading MVP candidate if he stayed healthy. Obviously, dominant physicality. Whether he can impose himself on that Manchester squad is a big question mark, because I feel because Manchester do have a lot of physical players. Like Tim Adetukasi, I feel like did a good job on him last time. Tim Adetukasi is listed at £240. Joel Scott he's not outwardly outstanding in terms of quickness or skill or guile. He's not going to beat players off the dribble. So for them to get his scoring punch, I feel like that's a question mark against this team.
Yep.
And if he exceeds that, then London will be in a good stead. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Any thoughts on the impact of, say, a Shavar Reynolds, Mitch?
I mean, Shavar needs to. Shavar's been a weird one for me to watch because I feel like he plays better in Europe than he does here. Like, I feel like when I watch him in Euro Cup, he's actually having a bit more of an impact than he is here. I feel like he gets cancelled out a bit more with some of the guards that we have here, and I think with him, he passes the ball well. He's getting 5.5 assists a game. He scores the ball decently well. I feel like if it's a matchup versus matchup thing, I feel like Shavar gets cancelled out by who the guys at Manchester have. Like I'm looking away from the guards a bit in terms of an X factor player for both Manchester and London about who can be a big impactor in the game. And like London, I'll stay on London because we're here anyway. Like I'm thinking potentially what impact Aaron Ryan going to have in this game. Like we've seen
he's
him.
such an interesting one purely because we think what have we seen from Aaron Ryan through his first two seasons, and like Louis was telling me some stats about his impact and all that, so he can repeat them next. But we go from Aaron Ryan being MVP Aaron Ryan, the guy on Cheshire Phoenix, the go-to guy for London last season, and this season he is almost that bit part player. He does lead them in average rebounds over 5 a game, almost a steal a game, but you like only averages like just over 6.5 points a game. And you go, like, I'm curious how Aaron Rye feels. Like, he's playing on a better team. He's playing in Euro Cup this season. He's getting opportunities he doesn't normally have. He was a player that I don't think Sabonis was keen on.
He wasn't really part of the rotation start of the season, was he?
He struggled early doors, and he's had to obviously work hard to get into due to injuries and players available and whatnot, to get into coach's favor. Because you kind of got the preseason vibes that Aaron Ryan was on a multi-year contract, so they were kind of slumped with him rather than wanted him. So then we look down the line, what does Aaron Ryan do next is quite an interesting question. Question for another time. But Louis, what did you tell me about Aaron Ryan?
Oh, that he's okay, so on off, which is how a team does with him on the court versus off court. Just basically that London are massively better with him on the court. Just he still is one of the biggest impact players in the league.
Which is insane when statistically that doesn't jump off the page.
No, he's like raw stats on, as you say, mediocre.
Yeah.
But like moments like the cup final against Newcastle.
Yep.
he turned it on and basically snuffed out Newcastle's chance. That's why I thought he should have won MVP that game.
Who
he's
did
still
get it? Was it Dean?
No, it was, I can't remember, but it wasn't him.
I remember.
It wasn't him.
Well, I think that's like a key thing for me to look at Rye. I think Rye has brought his value to that Lions team specifically in the domestic games. He's not had a significant role in Europe, but when he's played good minutes in the British games, he's had a factor, and he's been that difference maker just to get them to solidify their position, either stopping a run or going on one himself. Like, because of how his style of play is, and we've talked about this in previous years as well, is like he does everything. He scores, he grabs rebounds, he's willing to pass the ball, he plays defense. Like, because he does that little bit of everything, he means that games like a final where the small margins matter, you may need an Aaron Wright to come play 10, 15 minutes on the court and just give you all those little margins just to make sure you're keeping that gap there. That's why I think he's going to be an X factor in my view for London for that game, because if he has a good game off the bench for them, that'll probably solidify taking away some rebounds from Manchester, get some points to widen the gap or narrow the gap. A couple extra assists out there. Like, I can just see him doing a little bit of everything again. Probably won't get the recognition he gets because of the level of talent he's got around him. But I don't know. I've just got a feeling he might have a really impactful sort of presence.
Let's move on. Let's talk about the matchups for this game in terms of let's look at the front court. You'd assume that London will start with Shavar Reynolds and Tariq Phillips. Manchester will start with, I'm going to put the guards around the wrong way, Jones, and will it be Johnson or Smith? Smith?
Yeah, Smith. Sure.
Yeah, it's always Smith.
Yeah, it's always Smith.
Yeah.
So when you look at that starting guard lineup for both sides, what do we think is going to happen? Like, obviously, both teams have players who come off the bench, and Manchester maybe get stronger with Johnson off the bench as well. Is that where it could be when it's who's that next guard? I like that. I always like saying who's that next player in a final. But when we look at that kind of guard lineup for the two, how do we think they're going to compete against each other?
So
go for it, Louis.
Okay. So if I was the coach, I'd put Tariq on Max Jones because I feel like that's a massive, important matchup. And
Tariq will just frustrate the living daylight out of him.
Tariq will get in his grill.
Yeah.
It will be a very difficult night for Max Jones.
Yeah.
And that's, as I said, that's going to be a crucial, pivotal, point of the game in how he deals with that. And obviously Shavar's going to be on PJ, but PJ is going to be just making smart moves on the perimeter, off ball, hitting his catch and shoots, and occasionally getting the secondary pick and roll off of Max Jones's stuff, so yeah. And then obviously on the offensive end, Shavar's going to be doing his thing. Tariq's I don't know. Tariq's going to be doing his thing.
Yeah, but Tariq's the guy that he's been here. He's done that in this country. We've seen what Tariq's impact can be. He's like the known quantity in a final of all these guys. Shavar's still he's been in and out of the rotation just because of injuries and whatnot. I'm excited to see what Shavar does in this final because Manchester's youthful lineup as well. I think it's just an intriguing matchup in that front court. I think when you go and if we go on to the flip side of that at the basket, your 3 to 5 men. I feel for Manchester, as you say, you've got Adid Takasi, you've got Nicholson, you've got Gabe Oshaboyan, you've got. I always think Zach Irvin's going to just do what he does because he just will turn up, and if Otton needs him to go and get 15 points, 10 rebounds, he'll go and do it. I'm a big Zach Irvin fan, as we know. And you look at London, you're like, how deep are they going to go into this final in terms of their roster depth? You've seen Adamu not really featuring it the last few weeks. Kieran Sandy's kind of not play. Matt Goodwin's not in the rotation. So it's like they've really shortened that squad. Okay, they've added in Ovi. They added in Jordan Williams for that. He only played like one game and then he's just back out the rotation as such. Like I feel like it'll be interesting to see who uses their bench more. I feel like Manchester might do that because that's how Autumn plays. Maybe more than what Sabonis might do being a final. Like, will Sabonis still rock with like the minute split being the way it has been, or will, like, that's one thing I'm curious about. Will Sabonis shorten the rotation? So if you look at his bigs, how much will the likes of Aaron Rai play, Ovi Soko? How much will Dean Williams play, Joel Scott? And those even just those four guys across probably two positions, because you'd assume Auguste will play a lot of the three. Like, you just, in terms of minute spread across that big lineup for London, I'm really curious to see how they do it. Whereas for Manchester, I feel like he'll roll with what he usually does. Is that fair, Mitch?
I think it's pretty fair. I wouldn't be inclined. Well, usual finals, you expect a shorter rotation. You want less variables of players coming in and out. I would see that happening. I think some of it may be taken out of their hands. We're expecting a chippy game. People get in foul trouble. We may see that rotation have to shorten. Like, let's talk about like the foul magnet that is Oseboyan for Manchester. Like, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, they've actually got a good rotation at the 5 spot to kind of work with Nicholson and Oseboyan a little bit. But if he gets in foul trouble early,
we're going to see a lot of Jake Shelton, aren't we?
Well, we might have to, unless you're going to put Adedekase there, which is just not going to work. Not going to work, really. I think you'll see some Duke minutes just to compensate, because you'll need to give Nicholson time to rest. I think Manchester are a bit more reliant on their bigs just because Oseboyan gets in foul trouble so much. Like, if he's disciplined with his defense, I'm not too worried about Manchester's inside rotations. If he does, it's going to be a tough night from Nicholson because he'll have to give so much on both ends of the floor. They'll just knock him out. I think the benefit London have is they can, with the depth that they have, they'll make adjustments based on how the game goes. They may initially start planning an 8-player rotation and then say, okay, Oseboyan's on 3 fouls in the second quarter. Cool, let's keep attacking inside. Let's knacker Matt Nicholson out. And then we'll just go a shorter lineup. We'll play him with our wing players and just run them off the floor. And at that point, if it stays as a high tempo game as well, we've seen it before. Max Jones will try and go 1-on-1 and try and score some high difficulty, high 1v1 matchups. Which, if they go in, great. But if it's a final and he starts missing those shots, there may be a bit more to be said about that, because that's not the game to be trying that stuff. Albeit Manchester's you could argue Manchester at home because it's in Manchester, but it's not their home court, it's not their home facility, so there's still that unknown factor there. But they can stay at home; they don't have to travel into a hotel the night before. They can just stay where they are and just deal with it on the day. Rotation's going to be interesting, but I would expect to see Duke a bit. Oseboy is just going to get in foul trouble again. I hope he doesn't, but I'm expecting him to.
Lee, what were you going to say?
Like I feel like Manchester, even though we know Otten's been very willing to, well, he's been using a longer lineup. I feel like he's going to be forced into a shorter lineup this game because he's going to need productive players on the court. We know that, well, Tim Adedekase's, whenever he's on the court, Manchester do well, practically speaking. They're going to need him for long minutes to be that physical defensive presence that kind of rebounds, essentially. He's going to need Max Jones to play heavy minutes. That's going to be a crucial factor. Obviously, they have Jordan Johnson and PJ to kind of flit in and out, but he's going to need his key players on the court because he doesn't have the lineup depth that London have. London can just have just Euro Cup level depth. They have guys like Aaron Rai, who was league MVP, coming in and out. They have various guys, to come in and out. Whereas Manchester are obviously they are deep. They have what they do with Kane Henry will be an interesting question mark. Do they potentially, if Ossaboyan goes and gets into foul trouble, do they potentially experiment with a kind of Kane Henry, Tim Adekasi like 4-5 lineup? Stuff like that. Why not? It's a final. But
yeah, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
All right, let's go our predictions. So who's winning and by what margin? Mitch, you can go first.
You're mean. Looking at the factors, looking at squads, narrative would have you want to say Manchester, but I think London are going to get it. I think it's going to be. I'm going to say 4. I think it's going to be tight, but I think London are going to get it.
Lions by 4. Louis?
I'm just going to go with my heart.
I can't just write Louis going with his heart.
Okay, Manchester by like 2 or something.
Oh,
Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good narrative, and I think storyline wise, Manchester winning at home is such a good story. If it happens or not, I'm not too sure.
What's really fascinating is we're obviously all in the same ballpark. So I'm going Lions, but I'm going Lions by 2.
Okay.
So if we're talking about how close a game this is how close we think it could be, is pretty awesome. I think narratively, Manchester winning in Manchester could have the same knock-on effect as the Gladiators winning when it was at the Emirates, for example. Like that's the most recent example of obviously that, and what that could potentially mean for the team going forward could be huge. But also London have the clean sweep in mind. They've already won the cup. They've set their sights on this. They're top of the league, playoffs around the corner as well. So, I think there's a good number of storylines there from both sides winning it. So just repeat that. Mitchell thinks the Lions won by 4. Louis got Manny by 2, and I've got the Lions by 2 as well.
Either way, social media is going to be hilarious across the board. So let's keep an eye on that.
I think it's just going to be a fun, hopefully, weekend of games.
I'm hoping so too.
And obviously, London are playing Surrey this midweek, aren't they? Like,
yeah.
Which will be interesting to see what lineups are. Yeah, that potentially adds a curveball, but let's not touch on that one. So that'll do for our cup final preview for this part of this episode. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that in terms of what we think will happen. Get involved in the discussion, comment on YouTube who you think's going to win. Hit us up on social media what you think as well, London or Manchester. All right, next part of the show. The playoffs battle is heating up. You could almost mathematically rule out the Gladiators from moving from 9th and up the way. They did get a good win for them, even though Leicester are short-handed. But the really thing I'm curious, I really think that doesn't make sense in this as a sentence. The thing I'm most curious about when we look at the league table is how bloody close from really, you would say, 4th now to 8th actually is. The disadvantage for Newcastle in 8th place is they have played more matches than anyone else in that kind of ranking set. So that's a disadvantage to them. There is only 4 teams better than 500. Bristol are obviously 12 and 12. Surrey have dropped a few games, 11 and 13 now. The Riders do, though, have the most games still to play. Sitting here right now, I'm going to change my tune on what I wanted to ask of us. Am I going to ask this?
I don't know. Are you?
You know what? Let's do it. Let's go big and bold and whatever else. Ruling out the Gladiators because they're not catching up with Newcastle. They're just not. And if they do, then we're in for an insane end of the season. Maybe as well. Are we locking in that London have won in the league?
Let's see how the final goes first.
Louis, we locking in London have won?
They
Are we all
kinda
going to?
have,
Are we all? So basically, what I'm saying is, we're going to predict 1 to 8 with the teams that are left in the league. Are we all
Okay.
locking in London at number 1? I am.
I am. Come on, Mitch.
Yeah, I think so.
So if we're all locking in London to already have that first place, so we're all going to go 1 to 8 because I'm just so curious to see what happens. Everyone obviously still got to play multiple games. Like Cheshire have the fewest games to play. They've only got 5 games remaining. Leicester still have, I've lost how many games they've played, but they've still got 11 games to play. So we're all saying the Lions are locked in at the number 1 seed. Lions have won the championship, so well done, London. Who's finishing second? When we look at the race for the top 8, I genuinely am really curious to hear what you're all going to say. And then I'm curious to see if we all say the same thing.
So, who's going first? I don't need to go.
I'll go.
Go on, Mitch.
All right, Mitch, go.
So, as soon as you were bringing up that question, the first thing I did was look at Cheshire versus Manchester's head-to-head.
Uh-huh.
Because for me, it's down to one of those two. I'm not convinced by Sheffield doing it right now. I'm looking at it. Manchester 3 games to play behind Cheshire. I think Manchester will finish second.
Manny?
I think they can do it. I think Manny are second.
Lee, what do you think?
I thought I was going to be controversial, but I'm going to pick Manchester.
It's going to be close because Manchester won the first 2, then they got blown out by Cheshire in the third. So that 4th game between those 2 teams is going to be huge for positioning in the league.
For context, for people that can't see the standing right now, Manchester are 3 games back, and they're 2 wins behind Cheshire.
Yeah. Cheshire 16 and 11, Manchester 14 and 10, with 3 games behind Cheshire.
When do Cheshire? So you're saying they've still got a game to play between them two?
From what I can see, I thought they did. Or have they played all 4? No, they have played all 4. They have, because the 4th game was on the 6th of Feb. That was the 4th game against them, and Manchester won it.
So it's 3-1.
3-1. Okay, so it's Manchester head-to-head.
I was going to say, because Cheshire only have 5 games left. They've got the wins on the board.
That's my mistake.
It's okay. We are rectified.
It's all right, Mitch.
We rectified that mistake as a team. I still think Cheshire will finish second. Having watched them most, and there's maybe recency bias, but I'll be different. I'll go Phoenix.
Worth noting, Grant, 2 of their last 5 games are both against London.
That's okay. They'll win the other 3.
But Bristol, Caledonia, Leicester, so you'd hope they'd win all 3.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Finish season 3 and 2. Which means... Okay.
Is that you trying to do some fast math there? Okay, go third. Who are you putting in third place then?
The other, Cheshire, for me.
Are we all swapping round to who we didn't pick for second, Louis?
Yeah, of course.
Next. Manny. Fair enough. 4th place. This is a really interesting pick now because maybe with the exception of Newcastle, and the only reason I'm saying that is because they've obviously played 25 games. You could make a case easily, and you could maybe exclude Leicester depending if players come back.
Yeah.
So caveat that hugely. So maybe I'm going to go from there being for 4th place a 5-6 team discussion down to 2 or 3. But is it sewing up for Sheffield, or will Bristol bounce them about? Will Surrey? Will Leicester manage it? Like where we seeing that going?
Go for it, Louis. You start us off.
Mitch took a big breath in it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna have to go Sharks. Hashtag go Sharks.
Hashtag go Sharks. It would be an absolute disaster for the Sharks if they finished any lower than 4th. Like that's almost unthinkable from where we think their team would have been at the start of the season. You look at their next 5 matches, though. They play London twice. They obviously beat London last time they played. They've then got Surrey. So they play London away twice. They've got then Surrey, Gladiators, and Leicester all at home. Again, tough-ish schedule, but one with the home crowd, you'd assume they'd win their 3 home games. The London away games will be the interesting ones. Are you going Sharks as well in 4th place, Mitch? Or are you wanting to select Flyers?
I want to go Flyers. Like from what I've seen of Flyers this year, yes, they're 12-12. They're sitting at 500. I think their style of play is better. I think they're going to finish the season better than Sheffield are. I'm just not convinced by that Sheffield squad. I agree that your expectation for Sheffield is they should be finishing top 4, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to finish 5th.
So I look at Bristol's next 5 games as an example of, I actually think you look at Bristol's next 5 games, of which 4 are away from home, so you can't change your answer now. 4 are away. He's locked in. He's locking in Flyers. But you look at their next 5 games, away to London, Leicester, Cheshire, home to London, away to Manchester. Depending on the situation with the Riders, they could go and lose all them.
Yeah, but it would be very,
Rich. It would. He's not allowed. It would be very. Though it would be very Bristol to win all those games as well.
Bristol have beaten Manchester famously, so
yeah.
London, I mean,
I just like Bristol's squads. Like, there's been some surprises this year from that squad that I wasn't expecting that have really stepped up, and I like watching them play. Joe Anderson's having a really good year. Joachim has amazing games at points, just randomly thrown in out of nowhere. Like, I can see the Bristol finishing 4th. I'll happily be wrong if Sheffield finish 4th, but I just think Bristol have it.
Well, that's fine then. So in 5th place, are you going the Sharks?
Yeah, I'm going Sharks 5th.
Louis, who are you putting in 5th? Are you going to throw a curveball and throw Surrey back in the mix?
Nah.
Is that a curveball?
Actually,
now that you said it.
And you did say the Bristol schedule. You know what?
The next 5.
You know what, man? Big up, Surrey. Surrey massive. Let's go Surrey.
So he's on 89ers. Their schedule. Let's talk about their schedule then. They've got away trips to London, Sheffield, home to Manchester, away to Leicester, home to Newcastle. There is no easy game in the SLB. But you're in. That's locked in. You've said 89ers, I like it, it's brave. But then they've got recent victories over everyone that they're playing there. Like, again, 2 home games, 3 away games. I think I'm sticking to the Flyers though in 5th. I think Andreas has done a brilliant job this season. Like, we weren't huge on their initial recruitment, but they've all come together really nicely as a team. So I'm going with Flyers. All right, 6th place, 3 teams remaining. For Mitch, he has got Niners, Riders, Eagles. Louis got Flyers, Eagles, Riders, and I've got the Niners, Riders, Eagles.
Well, how about you start us off, Graham?
All right, 6th place, I am going 89ers because we don't really know what on earth is happening with Leicester. We don't know, and even then, Suleiman played 20 odd minutes yesterday, clearly uncomfortable with his knee injury. There was no Flynn Boorman, Rafe either. He seemed to be, we didn't even travel. His knee seemed to be pretty bad as well. So they're missing those 2 before you even mention Loving, Carey, and Battle. Do they return? If they return, the Riders season transforms. Louis, I think, said to me that they're 16-10 with Carey in the lineup. Or is that right? No,
10-6.
10-6. And you added to 16, sorry. And they've also got to play, when you look at the Riders' schedule, like they play Gladiators at home, they've got Manchester away, Sheffield away, Flyers at home, Surrey at home, and you would generally kind of think Leicester at home, Leicester are tough to beat at home. But when they legitimately have 6 or 7 players, Victor and Duka having to play big minutes, which big up, like they can't feature higher than 7th. So I'm looking at 89ers at 6th. Louis, who are you putting at 6th? Flyers?
Yeah. I'm kind of regretting putting Surrey 5th now.
No regrets.
Too late
All
now.
in. Mitch, who are you putting in it? You going 89ers as well at 6th?
I think there's too many questions about Leicester right now to put them any higher. I think it has to be Surrey.
But then add to that discussion, why not Newcastle?
So
they've played one game more and they're one game behind.
So what I'll go with on that front is, we talked about Surrey last season being the team that was in contention with everybody else, but wasn't necessarily able to win games. They're now proving they can now win games, and they've taken that step upwards.
But Newcastle are 4-1. I mean, I'm almost talking myself. I can't change my one. But Newcastle are 4-1 in the last 5 games. They got dismantled, obviously, by the Lions. Their next 5 games, they play at home to Manchester, away to the Gladiators, home to Manchester, away to the 89ers, and home to Sheffield Sharks.
Oh, I think they're losing at least 3 of those.
All right, okay. All right. Locked in. All right.
Just being honest. But no, I don't know. I trust the higher level of player that Niners have, their top end player, more than I trust Newcastle's top end player.
Hey,
I look at
I love that.
Lily Polite. I think I like those guys. I'd rather have them than Newcastle's bunch. So give me Surrey at 6.
Surrey at 6, locked in. All right, 7th. Who are we all choosing? Louis, who are you choosing in 7th? Eagles or the Riders?
Eagles.
I'm choosing Eagles. Mitch?
Can we not have a heavy asterisk for this? Because we have no idea what's going to happen in the next few weeks. Because we could be having a conversation in 9 days' time where suddenly all their guys have vanished, are now back in the roster, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, that's just a chance you're going to have to take, Mitch.
If it helps for anyone who wants to know, since we've talked about everyone else's schedules, the Gladiators have on the next 5 games, Riders away, London away, Eagles at home, Sheffield away, Leicester Riders at home.
Oh, you got me. I'm putting Glad's 7th now.
Glad's are 7. What, you're talking about a meltdown and a half for those 2 teams?
I don't even think that's mathematically going to be allowed. So,
I mean, it's mathematically possible, but it's.
We're not even having this discussion. We've already ruled out the Gladiators. I'm just saying it more because we've said everyone else's next 5 games. We're all the Eagles. Mitch, are you Eagles in 7th? You don't want to be.
Based on right now, I have to be Eagles.
Yeah.
Have to be. It's bugging me the fact that Leicester are 4 games behind Newcastle. They've played 4 less games. The possibility of them losing 4 of those games and finishing getting to the same record as the Eagles is really bugging me. But I just don't. They don't have the players. They're not here. This is what bugs me. They're not here. Oh, it's annoying.
They don't have the players. Oscar Curran's going to average 20 points in the next 3 games. Seth Wiley's going to be knocking down threes.
Tamide Akinsiku getting double-doubles left, right, and centre.
I mean, he's a talent, by the way. I like him.
You got to see him in person, didn't you?
Yeah.
Akinsiku, yeah, he was... there's something about him. He throws himself about. Gives me low-key Tim Adetukase vibes.
Well, it needs to actually shoot for that to happen. But
Guy's played about 7 minutes in total. I said vibes. I said vibes. So Riders
know.
are getting locked in at 8th for all of us. But with the asterisks of this is as the situation unfolds. We don't know anything else other than what's already out there. So there'll be some people listening being like, they're due back tomorrow. They're just waiting on their getting picked up at the airport. And if that happens,
Grant, you can't say that.
How?
We're supposed to keep that secret, Grant.
And then they're back at the airport and they'll be coming tomorrow.
Yes. Be quiet, man.
Hey, guys, come on. I've already agreed the 2 a.m. pickup. Let's just stop this now.
Aye, Mitch is driving down from... No, they're having to fly into Glasgow Airport, aren't they?
They're flying into Glasgow. I'm taking them down. We're talking.
Someone somewhere is going to actually believe that if that's happening.
No doubt.
Taxi by Mitch. How the exclusive travel of the SLB sponsored by the SLB Show. Carpool karaoke of Mitch and the Leicester Riders.
No, let's not do that. My taste in music, that would be too chaotic. We're not doing carpool karaoke.
So as you said, cup final this weekend. We are.
What, you're not going to do 8th and 9th?
We've just done 8th Riders. We've already said the Gladiators are locked in on 9th. Yeah. We'd excluded that from discussion.
Did you listen to what Grant said?
Like we can't even see the guy. No. We can't even speak either.
Yeah, but I wanted the choice though.
I said, are we all locked in? I just said, are we all locked in the Riders on 8th?
Maybe I disagreed.
And are you?
No.
Exactly. So shut up. Anyway, we may or may not be talking by the time Sunday comes. Hopefully Sunday goes down. Hopefully we all get access to go. If it's the case and it does happen, you might get carpool karaoke of Mitch and Grant's road trip down to Manchester. That's something to whet the appetite in our cup final build up. That could be. I don't know. Anyway, you gonna say, Mitch?
To be fair, we are looking at trying to like brainstorm some content ideas either for the way down or when we're down there. So if anyone has ideas, throw them our way. Let's have a listen.
Karaoke with Grant and Mitch. Could be a thing. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to the guys as usual. Get involved in the conversation online. Let us know what your predictions are. We'll put out some sort of poll across whatever social media channel and maybe on YouTube as well, because more and more people are catching us up on that. So get involved in the conversation. We'll be back next week with a review of the final. Hopefully it's a classic. We are predicting it to be a reminder for you. Mitch is saying London by 4. Louis saying Manchester by 2. And I'm saying London by 2. And you'll hear what we have to say in the final all next week. So thanks for watching or listening. And we'll be back next week.